No one sat beside her, until the human pilot sat down quietly. The interstellar passenger ship Aurora Line 7 floated quietly at the edge of the docking ring. Its wide glass corridors showed stars drifting slowly past, calm and beautiful. Inside, however, the mood was tense. Passengers filled the long seating hall, voices low, movements careful. Seats disappeared quickly as travelers rushed to sit beside friends, family, or even strangers of familiar species. Only one seat remained untouched. It was beside her. She sat very still, hands folded neatly in her lap. Her name was Elira, though no one had asked. Her skin carried a soft silver-blue tone, faintly glowing under the ship's lights. Thin markings ran along her temples, signs of her species, the Viewership. To most of the galaxy, those markings meant danger. The empty seat beside her looked ordinary, yet people avoided it like a warning sign. A tall merchant paused near it, hesitated, then quickly walked away. A family gently pulled their child in another direction. Whispers followed wherever Elira looked. She's Viewership. Long journeys were easier when she expected nothing. Expecting kindness only made the silence hurt more. The ship's boarding alarm chimed softly. Final boarding call. All passengers, please take your seats. Elira felt the familiar tightness in her chest. Not pain, she was used to this, but a heavy quiet like a door closing slowly inside her. She reminded herself why she was here. This journey mattered. She was traveling to speak before a neutral council, hoping, once again, to correct the lies about her people. Hope was dangerous, but she carried it anyway. Footsteps echoed down the aisle. A human man walked in, wearing a pilot's jacket with faded rank stripes. His hair was dark, slightly messy, and his expression calm. His eyes scanned the cabin, not with fear, but with tired focus. He looked like someone who had spent too many hours among stars and too little time worrying about opinions. His name was Ethan Hale, though Elira did not know that yet. He reached the row where the empty seat waited. Several passengers noticed and stiffened. A few shook their heads. Someone whispered urgently, "Sir, don't." She did not meet his eyes. She had learned that looking back often made things worse. For a moment, the entire cabin seemed to hold its breath. Then Ethan quietly placed his travel bag under the seat and sat down beside her. No announcement, no dramatic pause, he simply sat. A ripple of shock moved through the passengers. Murmurs rose and fell. Someone stood up as if to say something, then thought better of it. Elira froze. She had not felt someone sit beside her in years. Ethan adjusted his jacket, fastened his seat belt, and stared forward as if this were the most normal choice in the universe. He did not stare at her markings. He did not flinch from her faint glow. He did not speak. Minutes passed. The ship engines hummed to life. The stars outside shifted as the Aurora Line 7 slowly pulled away from the station. Elira finally dared to glance sideways. The human was looking straight ahead, relaxed, hands resting on his knees. His presence was steady, warm, not threatening, not curious, just there. "Thank you," she said quietly, her voice soft and careful. Ethan turned to her, surprised for just a second. Then he smiled, not wide or dramatic, but kind. "You're welcome," he said, "for sitting. Everyone deserves a seat." Elira folded her hands again, unsure what to do with this unexpected moment. Her people were known for many things: strength, strange abilities, long memories, but trust was not one of them. Trust had been broken too many times. "You're a pilot," she said after a while, noticing the jacket. "Yeah," Ethan replied, "off duty today." No hidden meaning. "My people are blamed for many disasters," she said. "Some of them true, many of them not." The ship lights dimmed as the journey fully began. A calm voice announced their estimated travel time. People slowly returned to their conversations, though some still cast uneasy glances toward the unlikely pair. Ethan leaned back in his seat. "Long trip," he said. "If you need space, just say so." Inside, two strangers sat side by side, One feared, one human, sharing nothing more than a seat. Neither of them knew it yet, but that quiet choice would matter far beyond this journey. And somewhere in the silence between them, something new began. The ship moved smoothly through deep space, its engines creating a steady, calming hum. Rows of passengers settled into the long journey. Some slept. Some talked quietly. Others watched the stars stretch and bend outside the windows. Elira sat upright, her back straight, her hands still folded. Even with the human beside her, she stayed alert. Years of being avoided had taught her to stay ready for sudden change. Kind moments often ended quickly. Ethan noticed her posture but did not comment. He understood silence. Pilots spent many hours with nothing but stars and thoughts for company. A service drone floated down the aisle, offering warm drinks. It paused when it reached their row. For a moment its sensors flickered, uncertain. Ethan spoke first. "Two, please." "Thank you," she said. "You're welcome," he replied. They drank in silence. The warmth spread through Elira's chest, easing a tension she had not realized she was holding. Simple things felt powerful when they were rare. Across the aisle, a group of passengers whispered openly now. They were from different species, but their expressions carried the same unease. Why would a human sit there? He had learned long ago that some fears grew stronger when fed with arguments. Elira heard them too. Her glow dimmed slightly, a sign of stress she could not fully control. "You don't have to stay," she said quietly. "They will keep talking." A few children moved carefully through the aisles, watched closely by tired parents. One small child stopped near Elira's row. He stared openly at her glowing skin and markings. His parent rushed over, embarrassed. "I'm sorry," they said, pulling him back. "Don't stare." Or becoming calm. Most assumed she already knew, or did not care to know. She shared stories too, about her homeworld's long nights and crystal plains, about how her people learned to listen to energy patterns the way humans listen to sound. Ethan listened with the same focus he gave flight controls. Not everyone appreciated the growing comfort between them. A uniformed ship officer approached their row, posture stiff. His voice was polite but strained. "Sir," he said to Ethan, "some passengers have expressed concern. There is fear." "You did not have to speak," she said. "I know," Ethan replied. "I wanted to." Inside, the hum of engines changed slightly, lower and heavier. Elira felt it immediately. Her body stiffened. The glow along her skin shifted color, faint lines pulsing softly. Ethan noticed at once. Something wrong. "Energetic. Please remain seated." "But it will worsen." Together they walked toward the cockpit. Security officers noticed immediately. One stepped forward. "Sir, return to your seat. And if I'm wrong, I'll sit back down." Ethan stepped forward, speaking the language of flight with ease. "What's your drift vector?" "A pressure wave, old, slow but strong, like a river under ice." Under her calm guidance and Ethan's steady adjustments, the ship slowly corrected its path. The alarms faded. The hum returned to normal. Silence filled the cockpit. The lead pilot exhaled slowly. "We didn't see that coming." "Few do." As the ship continued its journey, Elira sat quietly once more, but this time the silence felt different. Not lonely, not heavy, just quiet. And the human beside her remained, just as calm as before, as if saving a ship together was simply another part of the journey. The ship moved forward again, steady and calm, as if nothing unusual had happened. The alarms were silent now. The lights glowed softly. Yet the feeling inside Aurora Line 7 had changed. People no longer avoided Elira's row. Some passengers still watched her, but their eyes were different, curious, thoughtful, less afraid. Elira noticed everything. Her senses were sharp, always had been. She could feel the small shifts in emotion the way others felt changes in temperature. Fear still lingered, but it was no longer the strongest feeling in the cabin. Ethan sat beside her, relaxed as before, but inside his mind was active. He replayed the events in the cockpit again and again. He had trusted Elira without proof, without permission from anyone important. He knew that choice mattered. "You handled that well," he said quietly. "I am trained for it," Elira replied. "But I am rarely allowed to help." He stopped at a respectful distance. "I owe you thanks," the passenger said to Elira. "My family was on this ship." That single sentence echoed louder in Elira's mind than the ship's engines ever could. Time passed. The ship entered another long stretch of deep space. The stars outside were brighter here, scattered like fine dust across the dark. The captain's voice came over the system. "We will be making a short stop at a relay station for system checks. Thank you for your patience earlier." Her people could guide energy, but it always came at a cost. She leaned back carefully. Ethan noticed. "You should rest." A few stopped near Elira. One elderly woman, human like Ethan, smiled gently. "Thank you," she said simply. Elira nodded, unsure how to respond. Not all reactions were warm. Near the back of the cabin, a group of passengers argued quietly. Their voices carried just enough. "This is dangerous," one said, trusting her kind. "But we prefer control." Later, a ship official approached again, this time with a different posture. "The captain would like to speak with you," he said to Elira, "and the human pilot." "You prevented a serious navigation failure," he said. "Our systems did not detect the wave until it was too late. Your choice. We have dismissed this knowledge for too long. Sometimes that matters more." Another passenger, young and uncertain, sat down 2 rows away from her instead of standing. It was a small thing, but Elira noticed. As the ship resumed its journey, the atmosphere softened further. Conversations crossed species lines more freely. Fear had not vanished, but it no longer ruled. Elira leaned slightly toward Ethan. "You changed many things today." "Then I'm glad I kept it." Ethan noticed immediately. "Another one. All crew to stations." "Then we don't do it alone." Ethan stood close, grounding her with his presence. "Talk to us," the lead pilot urged. "It is like crossing many rivers at once," Elira said, voice steady but strained. "Each pulls differently." She closed her eyes, listening beyond sound, beyond light. "There," she whispered, "the quiet one." Elira staggered slightly. Ethan caught her arm, steady but gentle. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes," she breathed, tired. Some smiled. Some nodded. The empty seat beside her was no longer a symbol of isolation. It had become a place where change began. And as the ship moved onward, many passengers realized something they had never considered before. And humanity, once again, had chosen a different path, not through force but through trust. The journey was not over, but something important had already arrived. The Aurora Line 7 moved smoothly through open space again. The stars outside were bright and calm, as if nothing dangerous had ever touched the ship. Inside, however, the passengers felt different than they had at the start of the journey. The fear that once filled the cabin was weaker now. Elira sat quietly in her seat, her body finally relaxed. The glow along her skin was soft and steady. She felt tired, but it was a good kind of tired, the kind that came after doing something meaningful. Ethan sat beside her, as he always had since the beginning. He had not moved once. To him, this seat was simply a seat. To everyone else, it had become something more. People walked past and nodded to Elira. Some offered quiet words of thanks. A few even stopped to ask simple questions about her homeworld, her people, her journey. She answered calmly, honestly. For the first time in many cycles, no one interrupted her. No one assumed. They listened. The captain's voice came over the system again, steady and clear. "Passengers, we will arrive at Central Gateway Station in 3 hours. On behalf of the crew, thank you for your cooperation." Ethan noticed and spoke softly. "You did good," he said. "We did," she corrected. He smiled. "Fair." Someone suggested sharing what had happened with the wider network. Another agreed. "People should know," one said. "This changes things." By the time the ship reached the final approach, messages had already reached other stations, other ships, other worlds. Not exaggerated stories, just the truth. A Vierxen helped save a ship. A human trusted her when no one else would. At Central Gateway Station, the ship docked smoothly. The doors opened and passengers began to disembark. At first, Elira stayed seated. She was used to waiting until everyone else had left, but something different happened. No one rushed past her. Instead, people moved carefully around her, giving space but not distance. A child waved at her again. A merchant bowed slightly. A uniformed officer offered assistance. Elira stood slowly. Ethan stood too. As they walked down the ramp together, station staff waited. Among them were representatives from several species, including officials from the neutral council Elira was meant to address. They recognized her immediately. "You are Elira of the Vierxen," one said. "Yes," she replied. "You are expected," the official said. "Your journey has already been noted. You will be remembered. That means more than you know." She spoke clearly, using simple words, sharing facts and experiences. She did not accuse. She did not beg. She told them what happened on the ship. She told them about the empty seat. She told them about the human who chose to sit there. Silence followed her words. Then questions came, not hostile, not fearful, curious, honest. For the first time in recorded council history, a Vierxen was not dismissed. Policies began to shift. Joint research was approved. Travel restrictions were reviewed. Training programs were proposed, combining human navigation instincts with Vierxen energy guidance. All because one human had ignored whispers and followed a quiet sense of fairness. Ethan returned to his duties as a pilot. He did not seek attention. But attention found him anyway. Crew members asked about the story. New pilots repeated it in training halls. Someone painted a simple image on a station wall, two figures sitting side by side, stars behind them. No names, just a seat. Months later, Ethan boarded another passenger ship. As he walked down the aisle, he noticed something that made him stop. An alien sat alone. Fear still lingered in the galaxy. Change took time. Ethan smiled slightly, adjusted his bag, and sat down. Elsewhere on another ship, a different human did the same. And another. Slowly, quietly, the galaxy learned something humanity had always known deep down. For Elira and her people, the future no longer felt closed. For humanity, it was another reminder of who they were when they chose empathy over fear. And for the galaxy, it all began with a simple, quiet moment.